Bill Coore and Ben Crenshaw had routed a golf course on that land back after they were done with the number 2 work, 2011-12. They did a routing when we had the new pit golf course and we're sitting on it. What could we do? So they routed a course in 2012. And so 2022, we need more golf. We contact those guys, and they're booked for the next several years. Couldn't get on the dance card. Mm-hmm. And so I got in touch with Tom Doak, and I remember very well, he says, if you can move sooner than later, we might be able to make it work. Luckily, we were able to rush through the process. We have a lot of resources. We have a lot of people who've done this before, so it's not like our first time. And had Tom Doak and his associate Angela Moser, they showed up in January of 2023. And we opened the golf course in April of 24. So we had all that land down there, and so far we've only touched a small piece of it. So
yes,
as well received as number 10 has been, and we call it the Sand Mines, which will be the home to future golf and future lodging. So we're not done down there just yet.
Mr. Pashley, Tom Pashley, thank you. Thanks for having the Broken Tea Society here this week. Super exciting to bring the Broken Tea Society tour here. We're over in between the Cradle and Thistle Dew. If you hear the laughs, I think are from our group. I'm going to start with a question I think that is on every golfer's mind, which is, what are you doing now to prepare for the 2047 Open here at Pinehurst?
Yeah, we've got a task force. Yeah. We're still breaking down what happened in 2024 and working on our 25-year plan.
Yes.
No, we're getting ready for the 2027 Women's Amateur.
Yes, that's right.
Is the next installment in our USGA championships. But no, we're not thinking about 2047 yet, Casey. But yeah, we got a few mileposts between now and then.
Yeah. Well, with some distance between last year's, as you reflect on it, what sort of things come to mind?
Each one has been incredible. Luckily, I've been here since the 99 Open, and so every U.S. Open has kind of had its own personality and its own highlights, and it's hard to imagine they can keep getting better, but this one felt different than the rest. This one felt so grand. Mm-hmm. The scene on 18 with the way the USGA set it up, the grandstands, the jumbo board, the corporate hospitality that they moved closer to play. At first, I thought that might be controversial, but it added so much energy. So 2024, I think it was the best one yet. Yeah. In 2014, we had back-to-back. There was that wrinkle. But really for us, it was the ending. We've had drama in 99 with Payne and Tiger and Phil. And then 05, Michael Campbell wasn't as dramatic. 2014, Martin ran away with it. So we felt like we were kind of due for a epic battle, and we got it.
Yes.
And now we have so much to celebrate on the 18th hole. We've got, obviously, Payne's putt, but we've got Bryson's punch out, Bryson's bunker shot, Rory's missed putt. We were given a lot of blessings in 2024. Yeah. So, yeah.
More iconic moments to kind of add to your hallways.
Exactly.
It did feel grand. That's a great way to describe it. Yeah. I was actually in Ireland I was in Donegal, which is not in Northern Ireland, but you have to go through Northern Ireland to get there. So, I mean, even from over there, obviously I had it was a very pro-Rory crowd, you could say.
Right.
So it was a different mood at the end, but it did feel grand. It felt something about it like it was important, I guess, more important than some majors. Mm-hmm. But
it was a late night for you.
Yeah, it was. It's a lot of the Guinness keg tapped with like 2 holes to go, and the good lad behind there like raced to get it for the last couple holes. But so take me back to but before you start here at Pinehurst, before you're the president, I heard a great story. I don't know if it's true about the way that I don't know if you would call it interviewed for the job or lobbied for the job. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Maybe.
There's something about something in the mail that you sent.
Yes, there was.
Yes. Can you tell me about that?
Sure. I was in graduate school and was doing an internship in marketing. And I was trying to get I was a CPA and I wanted to get into marketing. So I was doing this marketing research internship and it still wasn't pushing my buttons. So I knew at the time, this was 1995, I guess, Pinehurst was opening Pinehurst No. 8. And I thought that was so cool that Pinehurst was opening a new golf course. Wow, I would love to get my feet on that course before anybody else. What does it take to do that? And so while I was finishing up my internship, I basically began designing a direct mail piece for Pinehurst. And there was a color laser printer at this place where I was working. And in 1995, you didn't see much color. And so I designed this piece, and it was a dimensional mailing, I guess you'd call it. It had grass seeds in it and some sand from a bunker. And I basically said, here's the seeds that we just put on the greens, on the Fazio Masterpiece greens at number 8. Here's some sand from the bunkers, just to wet your whistle. And I mailed it to the vice president of marketing. And he met with me. We came down and had a meeting. And at the time, he didn't have anything. So it was just kind of a nice, thank you very much. But months later, I was doing a graduate assistantship with the men's golf coach, Rod Myers at Duke. He took pity on me and allowed me to work with him. He introduced me to the president of Pinehurst, Pat Corso. And when I met with Pat Corso, I mentioned to him, I mailed together something and sent it to your head of marketing. He says, that was you? You were the seeds and sand guy? And he remembered it. And he then created an opening for me back in 1996 now. And so, Casey, I thought I was going to work here for the first U.S. Open and then go back and get a real job. Mm-hmm. But now, 29 years later, I'm still as excited about it as I was on day one.
That's amazing. What a shot you took, and it worked out. That's Duke education for you, by the way. That's what happens. What about, so 29 years later, you have 11 golf courses and counting to think about. You have hospitality and lodging and breweries and restaurants, and I don't know how many thousands of employees. How do you personally spend your time? What are the things that I'm sure you're thinking about everything, worrying about everything, but what are the things that rise to the top of your to-do list on a day-to-day?
Well, you said you didn't know how many employees. We have 1,600 employees, okay. And so I try to spend my time spending time with them and talking to them about Pinehurst and talking about hospitality and the privilege that we have to work in hospitality. I like to talk to them and say, our jobs, my job, their job are done in a lot of places, but we get to do it at Pinehurst, and just to reflect on that and to make sure they realize how special it is. So I spend a lot of time on culture, I guess I'd say. We've got a great team, so there's not a lot of things I need to worry about on a day-to-day basis, but I'm lately spending a lot of time trying to go around and find people doing things really exceptionally well and then recognizing them. And so with the help of our talented social media team, we're going and doing a lot of video work with our employees, showcasing some of the great wow moments that our people are creating. And then I do get to spend time, thinking long-term about our growth. We're, almost 1 year away from having just opened Pinehurst number 10. This is our 1-year anniversary, and we've got more land, we've got more aspirations. And so I do get to spend a lot of time kind of thinking about what's the future and what makes sense. What does Pinehurst need to continue to grow and evolve? It really is amazing that we're 130 years old, but we're still one of the more innovative resorts out there. So culture, people, and thinking about the future are kind of the big things.
Yes, it is amazing. It's 130 years old. You're saying you're innovating. I'm curious from your perspective as someone that has been in the golf business now and loves golf. Have you ever seen a time like this currently in golf? It feels like we were losing more golf courses than we were building up until 5 years ago. And I guess the second part of that question is do you see that as, all of these new golf courses, all of these new options for golfers to go? Is that a good thing for Pinehurst? Is that something you think about as far as competition or as a good sign that, golf is in a strong place?
Yeah, it's I've never seen anything like it. To your question, years ago, as Golfer's Journal and others were starting to develop and to look at the game differently, I remember saying to someone, it's like, something's happening, something's brewing. And you would hear it. I was hanging on to the hope of this latent demand that the NGF talks about. There are all these people who think they want to play golf, but they just haven't started yet. So we were hopeful that all this latent demand, I was hoping that what was happening with new media and latent demand was going to materialize into something.
Right.
And that was probably 6-7 years ago. And then, as all these other ways to enter the game, even the Cradle. Here we are at the Cradle, and it used to be Pinehurst was a pretty intimidating, serious place.
Yes.
And you're shushing, I would bring my kids out here, and there was a lot of shushing involved, and don't go there, stand still. And it was intimidating. So that wasn't a lot of fun for them to come here with Dad and have Dad kind of freaking out the whole time. But now they get to come, and they can roll down the hill, and scream if they want. And so I think the barriers to entry to the game have really dropped.
Mm-hmm.
The fun factor is really high now. And trust me, we spent a lot of time wondering if it was sustainable, because we're building golf courses, we're adding rooms. We don't want to do that if we don't think it's sustainable. But it does seem like right now the game is growing and participation is growing. It's pollen season.
Yes. It's the pollen invitational at Pinehurst this weekend.
And so to your point, we're not being outrageously optimistic, but we really do see a change, and it's something we're leaning into and investing in for sure.
Well, as you said, there was 6-7 years ago you could sense a change. I saw it, I think, 2 years ago really start to manifest at the PGA show, actually, where you have it on more on the apparel side, where you had this, it felt like a culture shift, if you will. I really haven't wrapped, sort of, maybe Tom Coyne could actually put it into words, or a better writer, but there was a different energy that was in the building than years past. That's beautifully sort of, displayed here by the two sides of the Pinehurst clubhouse now.
Yeah.
You have music out here on this side when you come, very welcoming, barefoot, all these things. And then you walk around the corner and you're struck with what the kids call aura, these days.
Right.
And you see the Payne statue and all of these things. Do you feel that thing that I feel, having been here so long? Do you still feel that when you go over to the first tee at number 2?
The aura
Yes.
that you're talking about, 100%. You can't help when you see the statue. You have to walk by a Payne Stewart statue, a Donald Ross statue. So it puts you in that mood, and you begin to reflect. You begin to get some butterflies just knowing what you're doing. But I think you said it well. I mean, the trick for us was to try to not lean too. I think for a while we were leaning too heavily into the aura and into the history, and then making Pinehurst more of a museum. And I could see somebody saying, it looks great, but is it any fun? Like, do I have to dress up? Do I have to be quiet when I walk through the clubhouse? And so I think the Cradle, more than anything we did, changed the perception that, Pinehurst doesn't take itself too seriously. And you can, 100 yards away as the crow flies, you can dress up like Payne Stewart and take yourself as seriously as you want and have an emotional moment. And then you can flick your shoes off and come over here. And we haven't alienated the traditionalists over here, but the kids feel like they can go over there and have fun. So somehow it's all worked out.
Yes. And that was a conscious sort of decision that you all made.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think things began to, like when we were trying not to go too far, the music on the Cradle was a happy accident. We had the grand opening, Gil Hance was here, and we wanted it to feel like a production. And so we had temporary music here playing that day. And in one of the interviews afterwards, Gil says, it was cool. Music was playing. People were having fun. And it just felt like a different vibe. And we're like, we should make music part of it. So music was not part of the original programming. We just kind of fell into it. Yeah. But I think I'm always cautious and careful about jumping the shark. We don't want to go too far and take it to the next level where somebody's like, wow, Pinehurst just got a little too crazy, and tried to be too cool or whatever that is. And I don't know what that will be, but I guard against that.
It's a fine line.
Yeah.
It's a know it when you see it type thing, I guess. Why we were just saying before I came on camera, our group played number 2 this morning. For many, we have 60 people here. I think 50 of them, this is their first time at Pinehurst.
Wow.
And playing, first time playing number 2 of all age ranges. So that's beautiful. I find every single time, it's my third time playing the course, it gets better and better. It sort of reveals itself more and more. It's mentally exhausting. You have to be engaged the whole time. For you, you're a golf guy. Why is that golf course so timeless? It doesn't have anything incredibly flashy to it. Obviously,
Right.
the green shapes, if you were to study them. But why is it held up for all these years?
You know, we used to have a sign on the first tee years ago, and it was a quote from Ross that talked about number 2 was the fairest test of golf that he had ever built. And so it's one of those rounds, I don't know how you do it. For me, after I play a round, it's in my post-round shower where I kind of go close my eyes and wonder what did I do on that hole? Did I hit the fairway? How many putts? How many greens? And somehow number 2, it's not off the tee where things go haywire, so you don't have a lot of memories of astray tee shots. It's around the greens. It's when you just missed the green and you tried to chip it instead of putt it, and a bogey turns into a double very quickly. So I think it is. I think you have that sense of fairness when you play it, that it's not tricked up. It's got plenty of width off the tee. You might catch a bad break in the wiregrass in the sandy areas, or you might get a green light hard pan lie. So it's nothing that the course did to you. It's something that you did to yourself, and you reflect on it and you say, that was on me. And so you reflect on that, and then you want to try better next time. And there's nothing more frustrating as a golfer than making the same mistake twice. And when you get another chance, if you hit that same shot, but it's about the greens. And I remember when we were doing the restoration, Ben Crenshaw said, these greens will always defend themselves. And because we were worried about adding the width, and is that going to make, and that was his way of, he said, these greens are masterpieces and they will always defend themselves. So it's about the greens and how you work your way around them.
Yeah. I like that, that you did it to yourself. I think that's really what I was getting at, or what I feel out there, because there's not a lot of shots out there unless you put yourself short side yourself, on your approach that you can't hit. Everyone's capable of, hitting that wedge up there. You just got to get it up over the hump and not too far.
Right.
So it goes down the back. What are some golf courses, either from a golf course perspective or a hospitality experience perspective, that have inspired you recently?
One of my favorite places to go is to Shinnecock Hills. I love it there. I love the setting. I love the architecture of the clubhouse and how it sits at the highest point. I just am enamored with the fescue and sitting up high and overlooking really the majority of the golf course and seeing the fescue and the wind, and it looks like it has a heartbeat. Yeah, it has just this energy about it that I love about Shinnecock. I get an opportunity to go to Bandon Dunes on a pretty regular basis, and I just admire what they've done in terms of creating something from nothing. Here Pinehurst has existed for well over 100 years, and I kind of like to say we're editing it. We just keep tweaking it here and there and improving upon it. But for people who've created and had to think through how it's all going to fit together, I have a lot of respect for what they've done there. Where else?
What about maybe when you just love to play, could play every day?
These are all our courses. Number 10, Casey, you're going to play that tomorrow. You have Pinehurst number 10, I think, is a course
10.
that I love to play every day. And it was funny. I played it so much before it opened, and it kind of became our go-to because we're really busy. And so, I'm sure we'll talk about 10 in a minute, but number 10 is a place that I like to play every day.
Yeah, let's go to number 10. I got the chance to play it last year. Mm-hmm. Big ballpark, beautiful place. It was still growing in. Take me through, kind of the process of, where it sits in relation to Pinehurst. Maybe it's, if you could give, people don't know its history before it was number 10, and then selection of the architect. Take me through it. So
number 10 sits about 4 miles down the road, right? Here we are at the main clubhouse, and so it's a 10-minute drive down there. I know golf purists, people who like golf architecture like to use the word restraint. It's kind of a high IQ thing
word.
To say.
Yes.
And so
I say it when I want to look smart, sound smart.
Good. So I joke about restraint with that. We were so fortunate. So the Dedman family who owned Pinehurst, so the Dedmans acquired land down around what was called the Pit Golf Course. The Pit Golf Links
Yes.
was a golf course down there, Maples design. And so in the late 90s, early 2000s, Pinehurst and the Deadmans acquired 700 acres that surrounded the pit. And we were going to build, at the time, Pinehurst number 9 and number 10. And so we had that land. We were beginning to route a golf course in the early 2001. And then 9/11 happened, and Pinehurst and Club Corp, which was our parent company at the time, decided that's it. We're stopping all projects. We're not sure what's going to happen. And so that turned out to be the end of Pinehurst number 9 and number 10 back in 2001. But the restraint that we had was we sat on that land for 20 plus years. When the pit became available, we were able to acquire it out of foreclosure, sat on that land for a decade, had looks at building homes and just selling the land and doing something else with it. But fortunately, again, because of the restraint of our owners and their patience and their long-term vision, we didn't do anything with it. So post-pandemic, suddenly golf is booming. We need more golf. And we didn't want to go into that too quickly, but yeah, sustainable in 2022. It looks like this is going to continue. Our member business was growing. Our resort business is growing. So, it's a long story, Casey. You got. This is a long form podcast, I guess.
Yeah, I think we're doing 3 hours today, right?
So Bill Coore and Ben Crenshaw had routed a golf course on that land back after they were done with the number 2 work, 2011-12. They did a routing when we had the new pit golf course and we're sitting on it. What could we do? So they routed a course in 2012. And so 2022, we need more golf. We contact those guys, and they're booked for the next several years. Couldn't get on the dance card. And so I got in touch with Tom Doak, and I remember very well, he says, if you can move sooner than later, we might be able to make it work. And luckily, we were able to rush through the process. We have a lot of resources. We have a lot of people who've done this before, so it's not like our first time. And so we got very fortunate and had Tom Doak and his associate Angela Moser. They showed up in January of 2023. And we opened the golf course in April of 24. So, like you said, big ballpark, big and bold, a lot of elevation change, wide fairways. And what I find most fun about it and why it's my everyday course is the green complexes. I love the greens, where number 2 we talked about is a final examination, a punishing test if you're not precise. And the greens, 18 greens repel you. And at number 10, with the greens that Angela and Tom created down there, you have chances to feed the ball to the hole on so many more holes than you do anywhere else at Pinehurst. And so I love the green complexes there as much as any of the courses that we have. And I'm sure we'll get to it, Casey, but the good news is, we had all that land down there, and so far we've only touched a small piece of it. So as well received as number 10 has been, and we call it the Sand Mines, which will be the home to future golf and future lodging. So we're not done down there just yet. Yeah.
Could a tournament be played at number 10, a high level tournament?
It's par 70.
Yep.
And so it was never envisioned to be that.
Okay.
We felt like number 2 and number 4, number 4 hosted the final round of the U.S. Amateur in 2019. They played 2 courses, number 4 in the morning, number 2 in the afternoon. So number 4 has hosted major championship level golf. Number 2, even number 8 so it was never intended to be a place where we would host a significant golf event, but I think it could. I think, we didn't direct Tom and Angela to do that, but I think architects in general, they always look back, 20 more yards or 30 more yards and say, if we added one more tee back there, you'd probably never use it.
Right.
But just in case you wanted to. So there are plenty of spots down there where we have just in case you wanted to use a tee.
How many golf courses realistically do you think Pinehurst can run? I mean, operationally, land is one thing, right? But operationally, you look 2047. How many golf courses do you have at that time?
Oh, good question. Less than 20.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine.
Land is, again, we had a lot of restraint. We had land 4 miles down the road. It's getting harder to come by land. We've got great people, though, and we've got institutional knowledge. So I think seeing the growth that's happening and the anchor site status and just the energy, the USGA's presence here, the Hall of Fame here, what's happening with our friends down the road at Pine Needles Mid Pines and Southern Pines Golf Club. There is a great energy that's happening in this area right now. So we don't want to, we're certainly not at our limit yet.
Right.
But we're not sitting on another 1,000 acres either. So
Sure.
we've got years ahead of us to continue developing down there in Aberdeen at the sand mines. But yeah, I think we'll continue growing, and I don't want to wax on too long, but Pinehurst is fortunate. We're owned by a family that's got a long-term planning horizon, and Bob Dedman, who's my boss, when we finished our master plan of what we're going to do in Aberdeen, he says, well, what's next? That's the mentality. What's next? Where do we go after that? So they want to continue innovating and growing.
Is the process of building new golf courses, from the outside, it seems very fun, Yeah. I get to recruit a great architect. I get to, be along for the ride as the routing comes together, or take ideas from all over golf and put them together, new logos, and all these things. Is it a fun process for you? Is it challenging? How do you feel about it?
No, it is a tremendous amount of fun. It is challenging. It's what, when you talked about the Duke and we were talking about my desire to get into the business, this is what I dreamed of doing, being able to work with golf architects and build something. So no, it's incredibly fun. And we've been fortunate. We've worked, in my time since I've been here, we've worked with Gil Hance and Corin Crenshaw and Tom Doak. And so we've got some of the best architects in the world that are coming here. We've been fortunate. Last year when number 10 opened, we had a calm hurricane season. So, it would be very easy to seed or sod and then do it at the wrong time and just get totally wiped out. So we've had some luck that has made it more fun than I'm sure others. If you get it the wrong hurricane at the wrong time, or you get a cold winter at the wrong time, I think what sounds fun can turn into a grind. But no, it is a tremendous amount of fun. And like I said, we've got a great team, people who know what they're doing, who make it pretty easy.
Yeah. What a question that somebody asked me at dinner last night over on the veranda. What is the most underrated course at Pinehurst in your mind currently? I'm sure this changes every so often.
I'm not going to say number 3, which is what a lot of people would have guessed, but number 1. I love Pinehurst number 1. It is the classic walk in the park. A lot of what we've become known for is that sandy, scruffy, wiregrass pine straw aesthetic, and you get plenty of that on number 3. But number 1 has a lot more turf, and it does feel more park-like. And so I remember playing it not that long ago, and I just thought, what a refreshing change this is, to look around and to not be worried if you're going to get a hard pan or a fluffy, or your ball is going to be 6 feet suspended in a wiregrass plant. There's a little bit of that scene out there, but no, I you play in 3.5 hours. It's got this 230-yard par 3 that's one of the hardest par 3s in North Carolina, I think. So it's not a pushover, but it just presents a little different aesthetic. And it takes you through the old horse stables and the sand racetrack. It's a little bit of a history lesson, too.
Where is the first tee from here?
First tee of course 1 sits behind the Cradle crossing. Okay. There's a little building there, and it goes out and crosses over the road.
Yes, that's that first one.
Yeah.
Okay. You can see it from the back of the Cradle.
Correct.
There. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I have not played number 1. I will add it to the list. I do love number 3. Like number 8. Haven't done 5 or 6 or any of that sort of thing. Do you? I assume as the president and the real product guy in the room, you have to play each of the courses every year just to sample the product. No,
well, I might have missed. Last year was a busy year, so I might not have gotten all 10 of them. I was overweighted on number 10, I think, last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I should, and And you mentioned I do enjoy going out to number 8 as well. Number 8's kind of a sleeper. It's one of those that gets you away. And what happens here at the main clubhouse, we've got courses 1 through 5, and it's busy.
Yes.
And there's a lot of activity, and sometimes you're in that type of a mood. Sometimes you're in a get away from it all type of a mood. And number 8 is a good place when you're ready to get away from it all.
Final, another question from the Broken Tea Society last night. If somebody has not been to Pinehurst, they're coming for 2 nights, 3 days. What should their itinerary look like? What would you recommend? And feel free to add food if you'd like as well.
Okay. 2 nights, 3 days. So we'll say you're coming in on a Friday afternoon. You're checking in. I mean, you didn't ask me for accommodations recommendations.
Oh, yes, let's do that.
You've got lots of options.
Yes.
You've got the Carolina Hotel, which is the flagship. The Manor is kind of a sneaky, smaller 42 rooms. It's got a great north and south bourbon bar there, a stone's throw from Pinehurst Brewing Company. So I'm going to stay in one of those 2 buildings. I'm probably going to stay at the Carolina because it's the beautiful white copper roof hotel that you've seen when you hear about Pinehurst. So you're staying at the Carolina. Friday afternoon, I think you're going to start with number 3. I think you're going to start with Pinehurst number 3 to get
a little primer
to understand crown greens. It's like what does that mean? A turtleback? What's a reverse turtleback? That's going to teach you. An inverted saucer is the other term. That, so you're gonna get your first taste of Pinehurst with a round on number 3. On Saturday, you got to go 36. I think it's a 2-4 day. I think you got to go 2 and 4 on your second day to really appreciate the difference. I think I would start with a walking round on number 2.
Yeah, when you're fresh.
Yep. And you've coming off that number 3, you start to understand these Donald Ross greens, and then you're going to look for a little relief. You want greens that aren't perched up so high, and so number 4 I think is going to give that too. It's going to give you the same aesthetic. You're still here at the main history, at the main clubhouse, and then I think Sunday morning. And I'm already stressed out because I haven't figured out we're going to work in the Cradle. But so
I think it's after number 3, right?
Okay,
three. You go 3 to the Cradle,
right?
Before the evening,
right.
Before it gets dark. Then you go 2-4,
and then you end on 10.
Yeah.
And you haven't. And the good news about that itinerary is, so Sunday morning you play 10 and you leave, and you immediately begin making your plans to come back because you didn't get a chance to play 8.
Right.
You've heard some people really think 6 has some neat holes, and so it keeps you wanting more. You want to go out always wanting a little bit more. But you can't go wrong with the 2, 4, 8, 10. It's kind of the evens. We need to come up with a name for that.
Yes.
But if you stay in that genre, you're going to have a really good trip. But I think working in a number 3 or a number 1 is going to. That's kind of the counterintuitive, when you go and you have a cocktail with your buddies, you're like, not many people play 1, but we did, and here's why I liked it.
Right. Yes.
And then you asked about restaurants. I mean, there are just so many great choices. You got to go to Pinehurst Brewing Company. And we opened our own brewery maybe 6 years ago and make a great IPA called Pivoted. It's a juicy IPA and a great lager. But what I love down there is it's barbecue and pizza are kind of your 2 choices. We have our own smokehouse there.
Yeah. Good pulled pork.
So you're in brisket. You can't go wrong. Sausage. So you're gonna go to Pinehurst Brewing Company. You might, if you're a small group, you might go into Villaggio, which is our Italian restaurant in the village.
Not been there.
It's at the Magnolia Inn.
Okay.
Small B&B that we own. And then you want to stay in the Carolina one night, and the Carolina Vista Lounge has great chicken tacos. And it's a high energy room. So I think you're going to split your meals between those locations. And again, you'll feel like you missed out on the $18.95 grill at the tavern, where you could get a great steak.
Yep.
But I do like, it makes me think, Casey, like, I don't want people to think Pinehurst is a bucket list destination because we want you to come back multiple times. Yeah.
Interesting.
Theoretically bucket list, but to me bucket list is it's one and done.
Yes.
And there's so many different ways to come to Pinehurst. When your budget's a little different, if you're trying to come on a more of a budget, you can come in the off season, come in late February and hope you get great weather and the rates are lower. Stay in the Manor, rates are a little lower. Maybe you don't play number 2 or number 10, which cost a little bit more. But yeah, I was like, we don't want to be on your bucket list. We want to be on your return list. And there's so many different ways you can do a trip to Pinehurst. Each one's different.
Yep. You mentioned it earlier. I want to, before I let you go, I know you're a busy guy. The USGA you mentioned has moved in right here down the street as you come in the main entrance. What's that been like for golf fans that don't know? I think they might have heard about this change, but what does that really mean as far as, the USGA and Pinehurst relationship moving forward?
There's basically 2 buildings that are beautiful. They've got the World Golf Hall of Fame and the USGA Experience are in one of those buildings. So that's kind of the interactive portion that a golfer can come and interact with those exhibits. And then they have their second building, which is where they do all their testing and research and championship operations. So they have 60 employees who work basically in an office building, but they also, any golf ball or golf club that is tested here
So
now.
the new ball is being tested here?
The new ball will be tested here. Yes.
Will they let anyone in to check on the progress?
I can't speak for them, but I'm thinking no.
Matt, we may need to go over there after this. Wow, I didn't know that it was here.
Yeah. So they're doing the testing, and by the way, then Iron Byron, they've got a little building out at number 10.
Oh, okay.
Where Iron Byron is going to be located. So I think the majority of the testing is done with cameras and indoors, but several days a year they want to use the robot, and so. That's neat to know. So the green section, the championship operations, and their research is all done here. 60 employees. And then again, next door, when you go next door, the championship history is showcased, all the work that they do agronomy-wise. They've found a neat way for guests to interact with the science of a golf course and with the aerodynamics of a golf ball, all the trophies, all the highlights from that year's USGA championships. Then upstairs, the World Golf Hall of Fame, moved from Florida.
Yes.
And has been brought smaller, but more modern, a lot of high-energy audio-visual stuff. And really the coolest thing is each player has their mementos from their locker, and it's all clear, and you can look in it and you could admire what's in Jack Nicklaus's locker, which is some really cool stuff, Bobby Jones's locker.
Yep.
So what it means, that's what's there, but what it means for me is more like, I think of Pinehurst was always called the St. Andrews of American golf. And at St. Andrews, you have the R&A, you have the Old Course, the Open Championship, Old Tom Morris. So now here at Pinehurst, the home of American golf, you have Pinehurst number 2, the U.S. Open anchor site, Rhoda, the USGA's presence. And so it really kind of brings that connection between the 2 homes of golf, the home of golf and then the home of American golf. I think that's what it signifies.
Yes, it's very cool. And I think I would be, the golf fans would be angry if I didn't ask this question, but obviously you're going to be hosting the U.S. Open, every 5 years or so, as we mentioned. I personally, I'll just get ahead of this. I don't have any concerns after playing it today. The Pinehurst number 2 is going to hold up to modern technology, but I'm sure it's something you've thought about as far as ways to either lengthen the golf course, etc. How do you feel about this new ball situation and then Pinehurst number 2's future in a competitive kind of landscape?
Well, I think we were happy to see, the drama and the scoring in 2024. Was it 6 under?
Yeah,
6 under.
6, 7, yeah.
And Keimer ran away with it at 9 under, I think. And so I think, again, Pinehurst number 2, the greens will always defend themselves if we can have firm, fast greens. If it rains and the greens soften up, it's anybody's guess what might happen. But yeah, we would obviously not want to see every shot into the greens of Pinehurst number 2 being wedge shots.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of guys are using irons off the tee and holding back because they've got more width to work with. So we look, the USGA sets up the golf course, but we certainly don't want to see it in 2047 be a different test of golf than it is today. That's what I love about Donald Ross built Pinehurst number 2 in 1907, and it continues to test the best golfers in the game today, and we want it to continue to test the best in 2047. So we certainly encourage the USGA to move on the track that they're moving on, and we're about the amateur game. when you go and look at the stuff, there's the creed of the amateur golf, where we really are about amateur golf.
Yes.
But I think because so many of the amateurs look to the professional game as kind of the tip of the pyramid, we certainly want to see number 2 stay as relevant tomorrow as it is today.
Final question. What do you love most about your job, Mr. Pashley?
I love connecting with people who haven't been to Pinehurst. I'm amazed to hear that 50 of your people are here for the first time.
Yeah.
They're golf people, and
Yes.
they're just getting here for the first.
We have people from London, California, Indiana, everywhere.
Yeah.
Somebody even from Raleigh who's never been. So.
My favorite part is meeting somebody who's here for the first time and sharing some tidbit with them that they didn't know, or giving them a tip, a place to go, a course to play that they might not have otherwise, or seeing somebody in the hallway staring at a Payne Stewart display and giving them a story about something that happened that I know about with Payne Stewart. So I love just sharing the Pinehurst story with as many people as possible. Obviously, I've been a one-track mind here telling you all about it, and we're sitting in my favorite place. There's so much energy that is happening right here between Thistledew and the Cradle.
Yeah.
This is kind of my happy place.
I'm shocked we haven't gotten a 1 yet. There's been
Right.
no roars. We had one yesterday here on 9. But no, that is my favorite spot here at Pinehurst, sitting up there, which I think I might go after. And you grab a drink from Sheila and watch other people come through and have the best time. You meet a lot of just really cool, golfers from around the world at different points of their lives, just hanging over there.
I might join you.
Yeah, that sounds great. Mr. Pashley, thank you. Thanks for hosting our group and our amateurs this week, and we'll hopefully be back again soon.
We're glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you,
Good to see
sir.
you again.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And if you enjoyed this episode, we strongly encourage you to become a member of the Golfer's Journal, or if you already are, to share it with your friends. As a reader-supported publication, we couldn't do it without you. We also couldn't do it without the help of our partners, and they are Titleist, Scotty Cameron, FootJoy, Holderness & Bourne, Omega, Charles Schwab, and BMW. We'll see you next time on the Golfer's Journal podcast.